Welcome back to another review, this time for the anime Clevatess, which had 12 episodes and was airing in summer of 2025. Another from any list, the story centers on the titular Clevatess, the Lord of Dark Beast, who wields both uncanny intellect and destructive power. Frustrated by the 13 heroes tasked to destroy him, he has decided to be rid of humanity once and for all. However, he has been charged with one nuisance. He revived the hero he personally slayed and adopts an orphaned humanoid baby, the last hope to save a dying world. The world stands upon the brink of Armageddon with the obligation of raising one child, holding it all back. Now bound together, what fate awaits this unlikely trio? Now, this show I was caught totally unaware. It is a very, very good show. It has a lot of more mature themes in the fantasy type world. It is fantasy. It has a lot of blood. It has a little bit more. We see a lot of fights. There is sometimes, parts of the body are going to fly off. We have all of that here, which I appreciate a little bit more of a mature, bloody anime. It reminded me at the beginning a little bit of Übelblood. However, in my opinion, Übelblood is not that good. Clevatess, on the other hand, pretty good. I enjoyed my time a lot. There's a lot to like about the show. Sometimes the animation is really outstanding. Sometimes naturally the animation is going down a bit. You know how animation is. But the world and the story is so interesting. We have like this continent of like different races. We have a race that is like in a forest area and living in the forest. We have a race that is living in water. We have a race that is like a nomad-like. We have a race that is essentially humans, but they have like two kingdoms that are not really together. They seem to be rivals. And then we have a race that is like in a mountain area. So you can see, maybe like some kind of dwarf race, some kind of elf race. We have these fantasy elements. And we get to explore at least a little bit in the first season, how these different races interact with one another, what really is the big story we are going to follow, because this feels a little bit like a setup. And it is a very interesting setup, the whole show. What I really like is that we have Clevatess. Now, the synopsis sadly goes a little bit further, but Clevatess, he is a Lord of the Dark Beast. Surrounding these races on this continent is like darkness, and there, in their darkness, is a space where the Dark Beasts live, and on top of the Dark Beast are the Lord of Dark Beasts. Clevatess is one of them. Now, he has a reason to come out and, more or less explore the human world. However, he has a baby. He's taking care of a baby. Why? You will have to see the show for that. And he's reviving one of the heroes. Now, that hero is called Alicia. It's the blonde one on the bottom right. What I really, really like is that Alicia is a badass. It is like, in every fight she's like a badass. She's fighting insanely well. She's really good. She's really strong. It's not like, we have like, the damsel in distress kind of thing. No, she's a badass. She's fighting. She's destroying stuff. She is insane. And I really, really love that. Because in the show, you have Clevatess. Clevatess is like the Lord of the Dark Beast. He's very strong. He could just, level everything. it's easy. He could destroy whatever he wanted. But we get to see Alicia being the one who's insanely well fighting in all these little fights we get to see. And it is really well done. I really enjoyed my time with it. I mean, the synopsis is already going a little bit too far in my opinion. The synopsis from my anime list is the same. Both of them divulge a little bit too much information, but sure. So I do not want to give too much additional information. It is a very well done anime, good animation, a good sound. I mean, voice acting, naturally, I mean, can never really complain about the voice acting. We have some interesting characters that have some interesting paths, and we have an interesting idea where the story is going to go. Now again, it felt a little bit like a, like a prologue to the real story, because we get a lot of information, especially towards the end, about what seemingly is going on for real. There's additionally, the whole time I was like, oh, maybe if we go this way, this could be really interesting. And we do. But I do not want to go too deep into those ideas because, it would be a little bit spoilery. I can, however, do that after I give my rating. But first I wanted to give a little bit of a snippet of a fight. Now, this was pretty hard to, isolate, but here is at least somewhat of a fight. There you go. What is happening? What is going on? You will have to find out by watching the show. I just want to show at least a little bit of the anime, so the art style, a little snippet, but I don't want to go too far, Now, rating-wise, AniList has it at 78 or 77%, which is pretty good. My anime list has it at 7.95. I was really torn. On one hand, I really like the show. On the other hand, I feel like the animation on some of the parts were not as good. However, the story was pretty interesting. So because I always give a little bit higher than my anime list or any list, I would say this is a weak 9 out of 10. Again, some of the animation was a little bit, lower quality, so I can't really be too confident, but it would be at least a high 8. I'm going to give it a low 9 because the setup seems very interesting. Insanely interesting. Now, I do want to talk a little bit more. However, at this point, spoiler warning. Now, again, spoiler warning. Just reminder. Let's go. Boop, boop, boop. Now, we take care of this baby. We find out pretty early on the baby's like a Hydian. It is important for the forge, which can forge the weapons. It doesn't really matter too much. However, the whole time Clevatess is like, okay, I'm going to take care of this baby and I'm going to see its potential. How is it going to develop? How is it going to go? Is humanity worth not destroying? And one of the things he wanted to do is put this baby on the throne and be like, the right-hand man, a minister, so he can control it from the shadows. He can check on if the baby is going to, fulfill his role in being good enough to not destroy humanity. Now, this was the whole time. The whole time as we go about, I was thinking, hey, it would be really cool because we know there are multiple Lord of Dark Beasts in all the cardinal direction, I believe. Would it not be really interesting if every Dark Beast has like their own race they more or less use as like chess pieces? So it's a big chessboard, the whole continent, and every Dark Beast uses one of the kingdoms as their chess pieces to maneuver and whatever they want to do. Now it turns out that seemingly some of the Lord of Dark Beasts have connections with some of the races. As example, the race that is in the wooden area has a Dark Beast they not only have contact with, but communicate with as well. Or have some connection with. In what way? They, if I remember correctly, it's a little bit antagonistic because they attack the Dark Beast or they don't attack the Dark Beast. I do not remember exactly, but they do have a connection in some way to the Lord of Dark Beasts in the area. What we also find out is that the main antagonist, which is Drell on the bottom left, he has a connection to another Dark Beast or Lord of Dark Beast. So we already have like, okay, we have our guy Clevatess, who's at the south point more or less, taking over this kingdom. We have someone who's in the west, we have someone in the north, and potentially someone in the east, and maybe someone in the center as well. So we already have like this big war stuff going on, which is really exciting. We also get to see in the show some war happening. There is, because of Clevatess and his attack on the Hydean capital, it is now pretty undefended. So some of the countries decide to, try take it over. Mainly Drell, our main antagonist, he wants to get to the forge because his Lord of Dark Beast commanded him to get the forge. And there's a lot of stuff going on, which is really interesting. It does help additionally that whenever Alicia fights, she's a badass, she's super strong. You could have done a lot. You could have done, a lesser show, quotation, would have done this to, give a little bit of fan service, the typical, naturally. It is the Middle Ages. It's not really fan service per se. However, we do have some angles that are a little bit questionable. However, nothing really fan servicey, I would call it. And it seemed always, whenever she was there, that she just was shown as a badass. She fought people that are stronger. She fought more people. She's using her intellect to fight against people, to use the advantages she has, that now she is in contact with Clevatess. She's doing that really well. It is very bloody, very gory. It is, in some of the scenes, what she's going through, I cannot imagine at all. And by that, I don't mean any sexual parts, because we luckily stayed clear of that, which is good. But, she's getting injured a lot, and some of those do not seem pleasant. But I just like that. Again, the only part that was a little bit iffy was the animation at some points, which is sad because on other points, it was so good, so crisp, so well done, good direction, and very nice payoffs. It just felt that the consistency was not really there. But still, very enjoyable show. It seems like we are going to have this, like different nations being controlled by potentially the the Lord of Dark Beasts and maybe fighting each other, which sounds like a really interesting idea. Naturally, at the end, we get a lot of information. As example, we find out that there were some true humans before who were able to do stuff that the humans or the humanoids today cannot do. But seemingly Clevatess has no idea because he doesn't have the memories from his more or less predecessor. And we have some kind of book which seems to be a key point of the story. I'm very excited about season 2 whenever that one comes out, because there's a lot we can do here. We can do a lot of behind the scenes. We don't need to always have action and fights. It's nice to have them, especially the big wars. It's nice. And like the big enemies fighting, all of that is cool. But we can also, in some of these areas, or could, prediction wise, maybe have some, like chess. We move soldiers, we move armies, we move maybe some parts of the nation, and diplomacy, magic. There's a lot we can do here. I'm very excited to see where this one is going.